Barrie.
Welcome to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. My name is Teresa MacLennan. I'm the Executive Director of the Women and Children's Shelter of Barrie. We are very thankful that you're here with us today. Our show is about the lives and experiences of women. We talk about gender equity, we talk about women in leadership, and we talk about violence against women. And today we want to caution our viewers, we are going to be talking about sensitive material. We are going to be talking about the murder of women that happens right here in our community and around the globe. And so we do want you to be very mindful of your wellness. Take care. And if this conversation is very challenging and difficult, please take a step away. We really want you to be well. I also just want to say thank you to our Indigenous community and partners. Thank you for allowing us to be in this space, to have these conversations on these lands. We thank you so much for your heritage and your history. So today I am really pleased to honor a friend and a great supporter of the Women and Children's Shelter of Barrie, my friend Dino Melchoir. Welcome, Dino.
Thank you, Teresa. Good to see you again.
You too. So Dino, I know you are a prominent person in the community. You lend your hat to many, many things. Can you just give us, a bit of a rundown about the work that you do both professionally and also some of the causes that you lend your voice to?
I mean, work-wise, predominantly, I'm involved with real estate. So I have ownership here at Royal LePage and Barrie and up at Midland, Coldwater, Melchoir Management, where we manage quite a few apartment buildings and commercial properties. Through Melchoir Management, we set up a private REIT. Then in the REIT, we have a large group of apartment buildings. Also a partner at Bayshore Property Management, which manages quite a few condominiums around Ontario.
Mm-hmm. And so I know that you are, you're very active in the community, and certainly, as I mentioned, our agency is so incredibly thankful for your support. You support us financially, of course, but you also lend your voice to the work that we do. What I know is that there's an experience that you've had in your life where the work that we do really speaks to you. And so I want to talk about that today and just dive into that a bit. So can you talk to our viewers about what has your own personal experience been that relates you to us?
I mean, before this incident happened, I believe through Royal LePage, we were actually supporters of the shelter. And through our office at Royal LePage, we would donate money. But I never got actively involved until it really hit home for me. And a very close friend of mine, her name's Angela, and she was originally from Barrie. She moved to England, and she was involved in a relationship with somebody there. And they broke up, got back together, broke up, got back together. And when she was finally breaking it up, she went away. She was working for the International Red Cross. A true humanitarian, always fought for the underprivileged, didn't matter what race, color, creed, nationality, sex, gender, like she just would fight for anybody who needed their voice spoken for. And she just came back from doing a 3-month or 4-month work program in Pakistan, and she got back to London, England. She sent me a text. I got it at 3:30 in the morning, would have been about 8:30 London time, and just said, another day about town. I'm, back in London, going out to breakfast with a good girlfriend and some shopping. And she said, things have gone really sour between Martin and I, and, but I'll win the war in style. And that was the last text I ever received from her. And that was on I think it was the 21st. 21st, yeah, it was the 21st, and then her body was found on the 25th. And actually on the 25th, she had a identical twin sister, and I received an email from her sister that her sister's body was found.
So when you were her good friend, and she was in this relationship, and were there signs, or was there things that she would disclose to you throughout that relationship that indicated that it was an abusive relationship?
You know what I mean? I would go to London from time to time. So we'd always get together, lunch, dinner, whatever. And I think I was over there with a friend of mine that I was dating and another couple. So we met up with her and Martin, or I shouldn't even mention his name because I don't want to give his name for any reason, because it's just a negative connotation to be this name. But, he was going on and on how great she is and how wonderful she is. And then I went to the restroom. When I came out of the restroom, she was there, and she was telling me how she was thinking of breaking up with him. And I said, why? I said, he just seems like he adores you and loves you. And she said, whenever people are around, he always says how great I am and how wonderful I am. When it's just the two of us, all he ever does is put me down. I get accommodation at work with the International Red Cross. I get a promotion. He just says, oh, big deal. That's nothing. She said, I went from running 5K up to 10K. Well, that's not, I do more than 5K, or 10K. So what's the big deal? She goes, he would always put me down, never positive about anything. He just, was always negative, and just, it was psychological abuse. She never indicated any physical abuse to me, but she always indicated, psychological abuse. And whether there was physical there, I don't know. There was at the very end. And then she did break up with him, I believe, or I know she did before Christmas of 2010. I think it was in the fall. And but then they got back together just around Christmas time. But then she broke off again after Christmas, and she told him, I'm going to Pakistan. I'm going to be there for work for 4 months. The house they lived in, she owned. She said, you can stay at my house while I'm gone, look after the cat. But by the time I get back, I want you to be moved out, which he wasn't. And she even went to the police when she got back because, he hacked into her Facebook account, sent messages to, quite a few people. She used to do work in the Gaza Strip and Palestine and Israel. So he would post all these anti-Semitic comments on there, which, affects her job and doesn't affect her views. So, there was problem after problem, and he'd send emails out to friends of hers as though it's coming from her, but it was actually him writing it. So she had, she contacted the police. The police even said, do you want us to go talk to him? And, we can, I don't know if they can get him for harassment, but try to get him to move out and push him along. And she goes, no, don't do that. I'm sure he'll leave. I'm sure he'll come to his senses and leave. And, maybe she should have had the police go.
Well, there's so many pieces about this experience and Angela's experience with her ex-partner that really speaks to what women tell us every day in the shelter. There's a lot of women that are experiencing that psychological abuse, but they don't recognize it as abuse. And then they also notice, which I think you also highlighted, is that it starts to ramp up the more that women are trying to leave and starting to make change in their lives. Because what we know as well is that women are most at risk of being murdered when they are trying to leave. And the way that their abuser tries to control and manipulate them, it increases drastically because they're trying desperately to maintain control over that person. The other thing that I want to highlight is that I really appreciate, and I want our viewers to recognize this, Angela was an educated, smart woman. She had a career, she had a life, she had friends, she had family. It does not matter who you are as a woman that you may find yourself in an abusive relationship. It also may be your partner, the abusive partner may be very, very smart, maybe very educated, maybe a professional person, maybe wealthy, maybe in a position of power. Again, none of those things may change the fact that the person has a propensity for violence. And so I think it's just always good for us to make sure our community knows that it does not matter who you are or the status that you carry. You can be an abused woman and you can be an abuser. And so I just really want to highlight that. And I'm very, very appreciative of allowing us an opportunity to get to know Angela, because we want to honor her in this conversation today. And so we are going to be heading into a short break. And I really want to circle back to this conversation and dive in a little bit more and just really talk about those days for yourself after you received that news about her death, just what you went through, what came to your mind and your thoughts. And we'll dive into that.
Okay.
Okay, so please stay with us. We will be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
This is when the fun starts.
All right, let's get started.
You would need to let me take over.
Whoa, Nelly. You're not done.
Welcome to season 2 of Canada's Drag Race!
I can see things that your people can't. Focus better.
Partner better.
Sleep better.
Breathe better.
Love better. Work better. Friend better. Unwind better.
Everything gets better when you get active.
Welcome back to Educate, Inform, and Challenge. We are very thankful that you're with us here today. If you've just joined us, we're having a conversation with our friend Dino Melchoir, and we are talking about his friend Angela. She was tragically murdered by her abusive partner, and we are really diving into the conversation today and trying to help our community to have an understanding of how these things happen. And unfortunately, it's an all too common experience. And so where we want to pick up, Dino, you know what, we would like to celebrate and we'd like to know Angela more. Can you tell us about her?
You know what? She had a very strong personality, very strong-willed. I think I mentioned earlier where she would fight for the underdog, for the underprivileged. When she went to London to attended university there, or actually I think in Wales she went to university and then she moved to London. She worked, I can't say if she worked directly at the Prime Minister's office, but for the British government. But I do know it actually surprises me. And I know you see it all the time at the shelter, where I've heard that the average woman may go back 7 times, I think, before they finally sever the relationship and don't go back. And it might have been the case here. I know of a few times where she went back and it just continued on. And even with her ex-boyfriend who took her life, he had a degree, I forget what it was, isotopics or something, very intelligent individual. He used to advise somebody, I understand, from the British government, like in Parliament. He was one of their advisors. Loved extreme sports, whether it be mountain biking, different things. He just was into extreme sports. And he wanted to change his career path to something more extreme or something more exciting. He went and got a private pilot's license to fly private jets and was hoping to get a job, flying private jets. Now, going back to 2009, 2010, the economy was terrible around the world, so he was not able to find a job. But it was, it's one of those things where anybody can be an abuser and anybody can be abused. It doesn't matter race, religion, financial stability, education. It happens everywhere.
And, I think it is really great that you've said that, Dino. It's so important for our viewers to hear that, because I know that there will be women listening right now who may actually not even think that how they're being treated, manipulated, talked down to, degrading names. They may not even think that they're actually being abused. And then we get phone calls to our crisis line of women who say, he talks to me so badly and calls me names. And we really are able to have conversations with women to help them unpack that. And while we don't want our forum today to be about Angela's abuser, because, we probably agree that abusers, and certainly someone who murders another individual, does not deserve any airtime. The important part is that message that you're giving, that we want the community to know any woman could be abused regardless of her profile in life, and any person could be an abuser as well. Her abuser was a smart, active, presumably fun person, doing sports, all that kind of stuff. But in the nature of their relationship, he was an abuser. So I want to talk to you now and ask you this question, and it's a pretty heavy one. When you found out that Angela had been murdered and the horrific way that had happened, at that moment in time, what is going through your mind? How are you trying to figure out what has just happened?
When I got the email from her sister, I'll be honest, my first thought was, what kind of cruel joke is this? Did somebody, I thought maybe her boyfriend had hacked into her sister's account somehow and was sending out this email. I was like, because there's no way that she's dead. Like this is just a sick joke. And then the reality sets in, and it's hard to believe at first, to be honest. It's just one of those things that your mind just races around, and you think, well, that can't be true. It can't be true. And it takes a while, I'll say, for reality to set in. The one thing I will say that really added to the sadness is, I'd met her sister before. I'd never met her parents. Since that time, I've gotten to know her parents, joined with them. We went to London for the inquest, went with her sister and her parents, and her twin sister and her were like, they could feel each other's energy. And her mother and her father, and just seeing their sadness just really is tragic, just touched me. I couldn't imagine what they go through and still go through. It's been 10 years this past May. And, I know they suffer all the time. They still feel that pain. They still miss her.
And I think it is just an incredibly sad thing that has happened for Angela's life to be lost, and that missing person in her sister's life, her family's life, in your life. When you think about that and you got the news that day, did you ever think that he could do that he could actually murder her?
No, I never would have crossed my mind. I know she had talked about, mental abuse. She never mentioned anything about physical abuse. But I don't know, did we ever think anybody could really murder somebody? It just, I wouldn't have ever thought so.
Yeah. And there's many women that we support in our shelter. Certainly they don't think so either. And then it's just very shocking and a surprise to them at how far their abuser will actually go, and the things that they will do that they never thought possible. But again, as women are trying to leave and they're trying to get a hold of their own lives and create safety for themselves, their abusers will rev up in terms of trying to pull them back, trying to get that control back, right? And it can be an increase in the violence. It can also be an increase in the nice words, an increase in the nice things that they will do towards the woman to try and bring her back, because we know many women will say, but he's being so nice now. He's being so kind. I feel like, things have really changed, right? And it is all part of the power and control that the abuser is trying to get back, to get her back into his life. And what we know is that time and time again, without dedicated therapy for both partners, just to say, you know what, I've changed, right? It is never the case. Unless somebody is actually involved in therapy and doing all of the difficult work they need to, that woman is still at risk. And, as you mentioned, Angela had left him several times. I'd like to ask you this question and see what your thoughts are. Why do you think she went back?
I'll be honest, I don't know. You know what? No, I shouldn't say that. So the one time she went back to him just before Christmas, and I asked her, why are you going back? And she said, because all her family was in Canada, and she goes, because I didn't want to be alone at Christmas time. And I was like, well, I know you got good friends over there. Like, couldn't you have gone to stay with some friends or?
And that is just one of the reasons that we again hear from women, right? There is an incredible risk, and it is bravery. That's how we describe it when women leave their abusive partner, because they can be giving up so much. You could still love the person even though they're treating you very, very poorly. You have invested a life together. You have purchased property, a house, furniture together. They're known to your family and your family knows them. They may have children. All of those things make it extremely difficult and play on the hearts of the person to say, I don't really want to leave. They want the relationship to be successful because at one time they were probably very happy together. And it's those sorts of things that will draw them back into that relationship. I think that this conversation is just a really good one, as hard as this conversation is, a really good one for folks in our community to be hearing, and especially women who may be listening right now, who are experiencing abuse and they're scared and they don't know what to do. I know we have about 5 minutes left, Dino, so I want to just talk about how you have decided to take this experience in Angela's life and use your voice, and just how do you do that in terms of speaking out about violence against women?
You know what? I've always believed in helping out charities, and I'll say for the last at least half my life that I would give financially, but I would never give up my time. But after Angela passed away, there was a calling there, almost like her telling me, like, do something. So that's when I contacted the shelter and started getting more involved with, different events at the shelter. And it's just drawn me, and it's, maybe it's her leading me there to help out, because giving money is great. Awareness is just as important. And whether we can financially make a donation or not, some people can't make donations, which is fine, but they can create awareness, whether it be going out for walk a mile in her shoes, just doing that support that way. Every little bit helps in support, whether it's awareness, financially. I think we all have an obligation to do something for some cause. For me, it's the Women and Children Shelter is the thing closest to my heart. Other people, there's lots of great causes out there that can inspire them to say, what can I do to help?
And of course, we are incredibly thankful for you, because you bring this horrific personal experience. And, we're women. We speak about the experiences of violence for women all the time. But it is also crucially important that we hear the voices of men to this cause. Men who are shooting down when they hear other men talking in derogatory ways about women. Men who are using their power and control over women. The voices of men are so critical to making real change happen. And so I know we've got 2 minutes left. I want to highlight one other thing, and that is the Royal LePage Shelter Foundation. Can you tell us really quickly about that?
The Royal LePage Shelter Foundation was founded in 1998. Royal LePage Corporate, founded the organization. To date, they've raised over $35 million across Canada. All the money that's raised goes 100% to shelters. Royal LePage Canada covers all the administration costs to it, because they said, no, we want all the money to go to help the cause. So it goes directly to women and children's shelters and organizations across the country. That's probably the most I can tell you about it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And what we know is that the Royal LePage Shelter Foundation is one of a kind, because it is the only foundation strictly dedicated to women and children who are in shelters, which is an incredible initiative. And at any night across Canada, there will be over 3,000 women and children who are sleeping in shelters. We certainly have the experience where we have a revolving door of so many women and children who use our emergency shelter and our outreach services, because we know the journey to healing is also a very long one. So we will be posting the information for people to look for the Royal LePage Shelter Foundation if people are interested in becoming more involved. Dino, I want to thank you so much today. This has been a really great conversation for us to have, and I really appreciate you offering up and letting us know more about Angela. We thank you so much, our viewers, for being with us today, and we ask you to take care, and we will see you again soon.